Welcome to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host. Sort of a guide on this adventure into the upland fields, the forests, and sometimes even the marshes where we find freedom and adventure, maybe a wild bird or two, camaraderie and fellowship, and of course, great work from every one of our four-footed companions. There are no bad dogs. Are there? I doubt it. You know, this whole upland, the whole opening weekend kind of thing, this is like the extended version. Talked about mine a couple times. I'm going to talk with my friend Rashawn Gordon, soon to be hunting buddy, about the Southwest and how his opening day went. He knows his dogs, he knows his birds, he knows that country like the back of his hand, has probably walked every inch of it. Desert country, fascinating, magical places. So we'll get some insights from Rashawn on all those things and more. But that's not all. You have a chance to win a Peet boot dryer just by answering a pretty simple question in the Upland Nation Puzzler. I'll have some news you can use. And I'm talking to everybody who gets the newsletter and Facebook page readers as well about what you learned last week during your own opening weekend. So it's all coming up right now on the Upland Nation podcast, brought to you by RuffLand Performance Kennels, Happy Jack Dog Care Products here on South Dakota Ringneck Nation, and Dr. Tim's Natural Performance Dog Food, as well as my friend Fred Bohm, on the road, driving carefully, I hope, at Sage and Breaker Gun Care Products. They're crafted at the highest caliber, heirloom quality. Sign up for the mailing list at sageandbreaker.com, and you'll get first notice of the very rare sales, sageandbreaker.com. And while you're on the internet, go to hunthuronSD.com if you are ready to hunt in the Ringneck Nation. Yeah, they've got a great event. I was there first probably 20 years ago doing a Field and Stream radio show, and since I've been back a few more times making TV shows, and just for fun, the Ringneck Festival and Bird Dog Challenge, November 4th through 6th. If you're interested in showing off your dog, getting a bunch of buddies together just for the fellowship and a little competition, sign up for a hunting packet at hunthuronSD.com and enjoy 140,000 acres of public access and that fascinating, challenging Ringneck Festival and Bird Dog Challenge. As this is being recorded, and it's being recorded now because I'm rained out of my hunt. It's cold, it's wet, and it might even snow here today. So I'm really grateful to be talking to Rashawn Gordon from somewhere in, I'll just call it the sunny Southwest. You can give me a better bearing on that stuff. Rashawn, welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast.
How you doing, Scott?
I other than the weather, I can't complain. I was hoping to be in eastern Oregon chasing chukars again, but I'll wait until it dries out. You probably have the same kind of soil. If it gets a little wet, you don't want to be up on a hill on a dirt road.
No. The mud turns to snot, and you just get stuck, and tires get all gummed up. Your boots weigh 20 pounds apiece. It's no fun to be out.
I'll never forget, we were stopped on one of those kind of roads, and it was a bit of a slant, and we were hooking left, but we hadn't made that hook left. We stopped, looked over the cliff, and then gravity took over.
Oh.
I figured we better get a little momentum before we get too close to that cliff, and we got out of there, but just barely. So anymore. And we had it happen actually once last weekend too. It started to sprinkle, and it was time to go back to camp. You might have been back to camp a few times. You know, we're going to talk a lot about southwestern hunting because, well, now I have an ulterior motive, and I warned you off mic. I'm coming that way, and anybody else, you're all welcome to join me. I'll be speaking at the NAVDA National Annual Meeting in January, and then I'm going to head further east from there. They're in Ontario, and then I'm going to head towards Rashawn and all my other friends down there. So funny, they've all said they're busy that week. How about you? Tell me about quail season so far. Tell me about your last stellar adventure.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't too stellar. We've had a lot of monsoon action in August and September, which is good for Mearns quail. And normally, Gambel's quail don't benefit off of those, but this year, it caused something strange to happen. The late rains actually caused the birds, excuse my voice, to go into a late hatch. So opening day, we're excited. We jumped a few nice sized coveys of birds. My shooting was horrible though, by the way.
Well, I can relate.
It's because the quail were so small. The pattern was missing.
Wait a minute, I gotta write that down.
But the birds that were taken were immature.
Yeah,
and
that doesn't surprise me, I guess, after what you said about the rain.
Well, I was thinking, okay, this is a little strange, but I've seen years in the past where I've shot some immature birds before. But after my friends and I decided to, call it a day and head back, I decided to take the long way home. And I thought I spotted a quail out in this field, so I grabbed my binoculars. And it turned out it was a pair, and they had 8 chicks.
Wow.
And this is third week of October, and they still got little chicks. So that was kind of strange. And I called my friend who's a biologist out here in Arizona Game and Fish, and he said that this is a rare, but it can happen. So I'm kind of like been waiting a little bit before I go back into the field to let the birds mature a little bit more.
That is I've never heard anybody use that as an excuse for not going hunting. but I kind of get it, because I was in South Dakota a few years back, and they had a similar situation. They had a late hatch of ringnecks, and it was legal and everything. And I ended up shooting one that barely had any color to it. And with ringnecks, you hear that story every year. Somebody shot one and it just barely had enough color to know that it was a male and all of that. But, we might have had the same thing out here in Eastern Oregon. We had so many hatches and so much weird precipitation at different times. I don't doubt that there were a few triple hatches here and there as well.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I've hunted a lot of years. I've never seen baby quail in the middle of October before.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
And as much as I love to hunt and chase the birds with my dogs, I just don't feel right about shooting little chicks.
If you could hit them at all.
Yeah, if I could hit them. I mean, I shouldn't worry about it. But
yeah, it's like me and Hungarian partridge. They're bigger than a chucker, so I don't quite know when to pull the trigger. So I just keep pulling. I run out after 2 pulls. So.
That's a bucket list bird for me.
Oh yeah, and you ought to do it. But don't go solely because you might find Huns, because that's the recipe for disaster. Go out early for sharptails or go out late for pheasants, and as a bonus, maybe you'll get some Huns.
Yeah, they seem like a cool bird.
They are. They're fascinating and pretty. The best game bird I've ever eaten was Hungarian partridge that by default had aged 5 days before I got them cleaned and frozen.
Really?
Yes. Might have been just pure dumb luck, but anyway, it was good, and I'll never forget it. Although the sharp tails I had for dinner last night were pretty good too. But enough about me. So tell me in general, how is your hunting season going so far? Besides that, have you seen some country? How are the dogs doing? Give me a highlight.
Oh man, the dogs are doing great. The birds I missed were all over points, I hate to say.
Yeah.
The weather's been absolutely gorgeous. The coveys that I've been seeing, they've been nice sized coveys, some of them up to 50 birds.
Wow.
So it's shaping up to be a really nice season. Some other people around the state are not having that kind of luck. They're reporting low numbers. And then some are reporting the same thing that I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hit and miss, but the desert's that way. Some places you can have a lot of rain and other places won't see a drop.
We sat on a high spot in northern Nevada last week and watched, generally speaking, I just call it rainstorms, but they were in tiny, tiny columns of rain that, some guys call microbursts.
Right.
And if you're in a place where you can see that, and out your way further out, I watch the monsoons come over Tucson, Arizona all the time. You can understand why there's no birds in that draw, but there's way more birds than you've ever seen in that one. This whole idea of microclimates is driven home. So you're seeing it, and that may be part of it as well. Give me a sense of place. Just describe where you're hunting, what kind of place that is.
Oh, it's actually a little slice of heaven. It's all flatland.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
No cactus. There's some grassy stuff, some sagebrush, right next to a lot of irrigated crops. So the birds got plenty of food. We got canals that run through, so they got water. They got good cover. And the walking is really gentle on the dog's feet. That's one of the things that really turned me on to this place to begin with. So it's a nice place.
I'm a little surprised. I was waiting for a horror story like my chucker hunts.
No.
But you've been out that way a long time. I bet you didn't find that the first season you hunted that area.
Well, here where I'm at now, yeah, I did. Where I used to live on the other end of the state, it was miserable. Cholla cactus, other cactuses, I don't even know what the names are. Big, steep, rocky, volcanic hills. It was just like chucker hunting, except chasing Gambel's quail.
Yeah.
And then when I came here, it was like I died and gone to Gambel's quail heaven. So I decided this is the place I want to live.
And you did.
Yes.
Just people, there is hope out there. And Rashawn is an example. He's the poster boy for this kind of stuff. He finally, well, you can tell it better than me. I'm just so cheerful about what you did and when you did it. You didn't wait till you're old and retired, broken up, so you couldn't do this sort of thing. You decided the light bulb was going to go off a little earlier, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I made that decision a few years ago. I quit my job and loaded up my dogs and came here to Arizona to start raising and training bird dogs. And then that led to I ended up starting guiding, which during the dove season, we have our 15-day season. I spent 10 days in the field guiding clients, and they were very successful. So that was actually a pretty good thing. And now I'm actually this year getting involved with owning a hunting club.
Oh, wow.
So I've been doing a whole lot of stuff, been keeping busy, and things are just going along. And this has been the best decision I've ever made in my life.
And you're also, more power to you, man. I just love it. And, anybody else out there, if you're looking for inspiration, there's a great story. I'm knocking wood. I came to that conclusion myself quite a while ago and chose to be broke and have fun instead of the opposite.
Yep.
But this whole conversation started with this. I'm just going to read this verbatim. This was a Facebook post of yours the day before the quail season opened down there. Tomorrow is quail season. I can't wait. I get to chase after Gamble's quail with dogs. Friends that are also hunting tomorrow, be safe in the field. Be respectful and sporting to the game we hunt. We eat what we kill, but we're not hunting for food. Take birds on the wing. Pick up empty cases. Give thanks to God. We live in a great country where we have the opportunity to do what we do. We're blessed. Now, Rashawn Gordon, that kind of stuff doesn't just erupt out of anybody's mind. What prompted all of that?
It's the way I feel.
Yeah.
You know, we hit the lottery being born here in America. We get to do things that a lot of countries don't and will never have the opportunity to do. One of those things are hunting. Now, some people take that for granted, you know, like they do everything else. And it's really bad out here because you get a lot of guys, they like ground swatting quail, and they don't appreciate what we have and the birds that we actually get to hunt. And it's not just about killing, it's about friendship. It's about nature. It's about giving thanks to God because God made all this for us. He gave us this place, gave us the birds to hunt, and we need to show a little more respect for it. And the sport itself, we're the ambassadors for this sport. It doesn't look cool, in my opinion, when we brag about ground swatting 6 quails sitting underneath a bush. You know, I don't know, I'm just a little funny that way, I guess.
Well, there's plenty of room for that kind of talk around here. I'm with you on all of that. We're on the same page. Hey, everybody, we're just getting warmed up around here. That's Rashawn Gordon. I'm Scott Linden. You're listening to the Upland Nation podcast. Rashawn, you take a break for a minute, unlace your boots, relax. I'll be back at you in about 90 seconds. In the meanwhile, everybody else, don't go away. I've got a lot to talk about. First, hey, have you visited the Patreon page? Yeah, if you want to get involved at a deeper level with the Upland Nation, lots of benefits to becoming a premium member. Just go to patreon.com/Upland Nation. Patreon is spelled Patreon. Coming up, we have a little bit more news, the Upland Nation Puzzler, and a prize for you. But before that, this portion of the podcast is brought to you by HappyJackInc.com. This time of year, you start discovering all of these things that might be a little bit more problematic than you thought when you were just getting ready for the season. My buddy Tom Keir sent me a photo a day or so ago about his setter with, I counted at least 24 ticks on the poor dog's face, and I'm sure there were more everywhere else. Happy Jack has something for that. I use it whenever I'm in tick country. It's a spray. DD33 is what they call it, and it works. It has a short shelf life, so you put it on every day at the beginning of the day, and by the end of the day, it's not going to be there anymore. So that's the good news. And if you're going places where there are fleas, it'll do the same job on the fleas. DD33 at happyjackinc.com. And of course, if you're traveling there, you probably ought to crate your dog in a RuffLand kennel. Flick spells that RuffLand kennels, RuffLandKennels.com. Reminded once again of all the great accessories they have, in addition to the first roto-molded dog crate ever in the world. These guys were the pioneers. They've got all sorts of components you can stack on top of the crates for storage, whether it's dry gear or you want to store an extra 9 gallons of water. That's what I do with it. There are kennel covers. There are pads for your dog inside. There's fans of various sorts, training bird transport boxes, bowls, and other ways to give your dog water. Learn more about them at RuffLandKennels.com. Yeah, if you were a junior high or a college band director, you can relate to that song because it's the only place you're going to hear an orchestral bells solo these days. Rashawn Gordon joins me from somewhere in the, hey, give me a bearing. Whereabouts are you down there, Rashawn?
I'm in a beautiful little town called Welton, Arizona. We're about 30 miles outside of Yuma, headed towards Phoenix.
Nice. I spent a week in Yuma one night on the way to Ajo. I spent a month in Ajo one night, but that's another story.
I don't even know where that is.
Well, just get a satellite photo and find the biggest copper mine in the entire western United States. That's Ajo. So in other words, a big hole in the ground is what it is. So we're talking about this, the manifesto you published on Facebook, which I just love every bit of it, but let's piece it out a little bit. Because now that you're a pro guide as well as a dog trainer, you probably deal with this a little bit more than the rest of us. What is something that you see, or what is some way for us to be better at safety in the field?
One, always make sure you don't have your finger on your trigger.
Yeah.
And I notice a lot of guys want to hunt with their safeties off.
Yeah.
And that's always been something that's gotten to me, because I've learned how to take my safety off, as I'm bringing my gun up to my shoulder and putting it back on. I don't even realize it. It just becomes natural now. And even though that, I still check it to make sure that it is on. We always got to be aware of that. And also, when a dog is on point, you got to kind of look around and make sure of your area, your surrounding area. And it's not about shooting every bird. Some birds you got to let fly. And people seem to forget that sometimes. They'll shoot too close to other people in the party or vehicles, or just they get a little crazy over a bird.
Yeah, and it's funny because quail are the worst for that. They really are. I've been in so many close calls. Luckily, none of my own making, but I've still seen that way more often. We had a situation. I was in a low spot, and it was a flat spot, and there were no rocks there either. So I guess we do have more in common than I thought. And this was valley quail country, and there was sagebrush. And Flick was on point, and then in the distance there was the willows that were growing up along the beaver dam. That was the reason there were quail there, because this is the middle of the freaking desert too. So of course that's where they're going to be. And so Flick gives us a pretty good point, and I'm motioning to my buddy to come up quick so that these birds don't fly away, or worse yet, run away from us. And he doesn't get there in time. And what did I do? The first thing I did was I looked right at him, figured out where he was. Then I turned to where the birds were, or where the dog thought the birds were, took the shot, and son of a gun, if I still didn't drop it into the water, which I had thought I was going to try not to do. But luckily, as a versatile hunting dog, Flick delivered. What are you running these days?
I have German Shorthair pointers, and I do have a couple of Brittany's that are, and they think they're Shorthairs.
Now tell me what makes you think they think that?
Well, they're kind of hard-headed, a little arrogant, but they'll die for a bird.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that turned me on to German Shorthair, is they're just crazy about hunting birds. They're super bird driven, and my Brittany's are that way too. And the difference about them though is, at the end of the day, my Brittany's like to cuddle.
Yeah.
The Shorthairs, they just want to eat and go to sleep.
No kidding.
And that's fine too.
Yeah, as long as you both recognize that, if there's an understanding between you and the dog, then it's all right. I take it personally quite often.
So do I.
And maybe, don't tell Flick I said this, but maybe we need a couple soft dogs, we'll see. So there've got to be some challenges in in working with those dogs? First off, the heat, I think, because they have hair, and then because they're a slightly different dog, even if they are as crazy as your short hairs. Do you train them differently? Do you work them differently in the field?
Well, they do have a little bit softer temperament. And that's one of the big issues. Short hairs and your wire hairs. I don't know too much about the Griffins, but the wire hairs and short hairs, you can't phase them. And that's why I always recommend to guys getting their first bird dog. I say get one of them if you're going to train it yourself, because usually it's the trainers that make the mistake, and these dogs recover faster when you make a mistake than, say, a Brittany or a Vizsla. They're a lot more emotional. So you got to watch how you train the dog, or get the dog to do the things that you want. You just got to think it through and come up with a way that it's going to be presented pleasantly. And usually there's no issue after that.
And I understand that, and I hope I can brag again about another situation in that same general neighborhood I was just describing. But first, I'm really curious about how you make it a pleasant experience. What are the components of that we should be writing down as you're describing them to us?
I don't even like talking about this. But
wait a minute, is this secret stuff? Are you going to have to kill me afterwards, or what?
No, but with a lot of dogs that are that way, you got to change your pitch of your voice. You got to be upbeat, high, and happy, and you'll get a better response. Versus, I can just go out there with the average short hair and say, "Come, let's go, load up, do this," and they just do it.
Yeah.
They don't care. They just want to be out in the field. They want to find birds. They want to do their job. But you can't take that tone with a lot of the other breeds. So you got to be, come on, let's go, come on, and they'll get all wiggly and happy because they're thinking that you're happy and want to get wiggly. And it does work out very good when you do that.
Oh, it does. And I will tell you, Rashawn Gordon, by the way, you're listening to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden. You just heard me introduce my lovely guest. You just triggered an explosion in my memory there. I was doing a show in South Dakota at the Krull Lodge, and the operator, Linda Krull, is not only a great person, and they have great habitat, but she is not just a wire hair fan. She judges the wire hair tests in Germany.
Wow.
And at the time, she had primarily female guides working on her staff, and they were all running wire hairs. And actually, I should be kind or more complete and say they were running Deutsch Drahthaars, because they're all registered with the VDD, and they were all, the kind that you could take to Germany and win the tests. So after about the third day, I'm trying to figure out why all these dogs are so good. And I realized that it's because all of the female trainers do what you just described. And I don't mean it in a derogatory manner, but they use a lot more baby talk than I ever do with my wire hair.
Exactly.
And you're right. What it just dials up the level of enthusiastic satisfaction with a job well done. I can't believe I just put those words together, but that's exactly what I see even in my 4-year-old when I do that. You must feel funny, though, doing that around all your hunting clients.
Oh, yeah. It's nothing manly about it.
But at the end of the day, that's not what matters.
Yeah, I guess.
We're going to talk.
On the fire, and they're bringing it up.
Yeah.
Into the hunt,
Yep. We're sitting here at the beginning of the season, but this is actually probably a good time to ask it because I just pitched a story to another magazine about this and exactly this. What, after all summer and spring, what is the hunting memory that is still indelibly etched in your mind from last year?
Oh, I had a client's dog named Aspen, and my buddy and I, we were out quail hunting in late afternoon, and we got into a big covey. And he had a dog, and I had Aspen out there. We knocked down like 8 birds.
Oh.
And I got the birds marked while my buddy's going out with the dogs and working up the dead birds. Well, they end up kicking out a bird that flies past me, and I knock it down. And I watch this bird. I knock it down in an open spot, and I keep every now and then, guiding Randy, helping him with the dogs, and then look, make sure my bird's still there. When Randy was down to the last 2 birds, I said, I'm going to go pick up my bird. Look, my bird's still laying there. Well, I was to start walking. I had to go around a big bush to go pick up my bird. When I come on the other side of the bush, my bird's gone. Yeah, and it laid there for like 5 minutes. I guess it was playing possum the whole time.
It's funny. I'm interrupting. Carry on.
Yeah. So anyways, I immediately just stand still because I want to stay in the area. I called for Randy to bring the dogs over. Aspen comes in. She goes about 25 feet away from me and starts digging. And she's digging. Now she's up to her shoulder. And Randy says, hey, pull that dog because it's still warm out there. He said, she might be on a snake.
Yeah.
And he's got one of those selfie sticks.
Yeah.
So he goes to the truck, gets that, sticks it down the hole, takes the picture, pulls it out, and he says, nope, she's got your bird. Let her go.
I love it.
And, it was just like the most awesome thing, because I'll send you the pictures.
I love it.
You can see Aspen, and then if you look, you can see the quail in that hole. It was just amazing.
What does that tell you about a dog?
One, I was very impressed with her ability to smell that bird.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once she found it, she knew her job was to retrieve that bird. And she went into excavation mode. And the picture I'll send you, you'll be amazed on how, her head's just completely gone. And I really love that dog. And it's cool because her owner this year just started his trucking business. And he didn't have time to hunt her, so he actually sent her down to me. So I get to play with her this hunting season. So me and her are reunited to go do some more quail shooting and hopefully maybe dig a few more holes.
I love that story for a whole bunch of reasons. I can relate to it with a valley quail and with a ruffed grouse. And a chucker too, now that I think about it. It just stuns me at how dedicated or bird crazy or disciplined a dog can be. When you're out there, especially early in the season like you have been, what are you doing to keep your dogs hydrated and cool? Do you have any special advice for us on that?
Well, I pack a lot of water.
Yeah.
And again, we have canals everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I let them go into the canals and swim. I keep them cool, let them, soak their bodies. And when it's really, I don't push them. I rotate my dogs too. Because out here, like today, I believe we were about 84 degrees. That's pretty warm.
Yeah, I worry when it gets above 50 myself.
50?
Yeah, but I don't live there.
Yeah, 50, we're putting jackets on.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Building fires.
You guys walk around in short pants on your dove hunts. That's just something I'll never get used to. But do you give your dogs anything else to help them hydrate? For example, there's a couple outfits that make a thing you can add to water that supposedly helps with the take up of the water. Do you do anything special like that?
No, sir. And one, I believe if you keep your dog in good shape and keep them conditioned to the area that you're in, that's probably not necessary. We do a lot of shooting of Eurasian doves during the summer months.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's definitely over 100 degrees. And there's been days where my dogs have retrieved over 100 of those things. and they'll drink their water. And I have a little tub that they come in, and when there's no action, they'll lay in it. But they're not starved for like water. You'll see some dogs that are just constantly lapping the water. And I guess if you keep them conditioned, they'll do good.
I was in another place at another time last year, and putting the dog up, putting the gun away, and coming down the dirt road is a pro trainer I knew from years back. So we're chewing the fat for a little while, and we get to talking about this subject, and he says, well, you know, those kind of dogs, they never stay in my string. I breed dogs to not need water. And I thought, okay, I don't know how you do that, but it's a noble goal. At some point, it probably ends up backfiring on you. You ever seen anything like that?
I've seen a lot of guys bring out dogs, and they're not conditioned. And usually the first sign you want to look for is when the tail kind of does an upside down U.
Yeah.
That dog is in heat stress.
Yeah.
And it's time to get them cooled down and get them out of the field.
What you're describing, I think, and I just saw it recently, actually, somewhere else. It's not just a relaxed tail. It is actually hooked down. And if it was long enough, if it was a long-tailed dog, it'd go out between their legs.
Yes.
It's really curled hard against their butt. Yeah. I've seen that, and that is a great indication. You ever carry a thermometer? You ever try and no, that
No, I don't.
I know my dog wouldn't stand for that.
The other thing is, and it's hard a lot of times, but the dogs, normally dogs don't sweat.
Yeah.
But if your dog is really in heat distress, they'll actually sweat through the pads of their feet.
Yeah.
And if you're there, you're really in some serious trouble.
You ever had to deal with that? What did you do?
No, I haven't. Like I said, my dogs, we live here. During the hot part of the day, I keep my dogs inside with air conditioning. But throughout the day, I'm still letting them out. And I won't go on a hunt unless it's like below 100 degrees. And when I say, I mean like on a dove hunt.
I get it. Yeah.
Because the dog's sitting in the shade. I have a big water tub for them to lay in. And so they can go back and forth, and they can go back in the shade and get cooled off, or they jump in the canal. And a lot of people don't understand, but when you live out west here, you don't have much of a hunting season if you're going to hide from the heat.
Yeah, I get it. In fact, I had a similar discussion last year with somebody about one of my TV shows, and he said, how can you run your dogs out there where all that barbed wire is? They're going to get hurt. And I said, I summed it up much the same way. I said, if you don't hunt around barbed wire in the West, you don't hunt. Exactly.
And don't get me wrong when I say this, because I love my dog. Love them with all my heart. I mean, I'd die for them. But they are a necessity tool for the hunting out here. And I don't ever want to put them in harm's way, but, we are out there hunting. They can get hurt. I can get hurt. Unfortunately, that's part of the game. And what we got to do, our responsibility as dog owners, is try to prepare for the worst. And if something should happen, we need to know what to do, how to help the dog, and get them to safety as fast as we can.
Well, I'm going to share this with you because I'm looking for your advice on this. This was at lunch today, running my dog out behind our place. That's a coyote. He's about 60 yards away from us, and he's calling my dog to come play. And I put play in air quotes because we all know what the outcome would be. And sure enough, so the first thing I did was bring him closer, and I'm glad I did, because not 5 minutes later, that coyote's hunting buddy on the other side of us started calling. So we were hemmed in by two coyotes putting the pincher movement on us. Do you deal with much of that out there?
I had only when I lived in Searchlight. because
Yeah.
our neighborhood was infested with coyotes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a little puppy run out of my yard, and while we were out looking for her, I'm driving the neighborhood and almost back to the house, and I seen her running down the road towards my driveway,
Mhm.
and she had a coyote right on her tail.
Woo!
Yeah, she was happy to get home.
I bet. What did the
Um,
coyote do?
well, because I just floored it on my truck, and then when it knew I was coming, it just kept on running down the road.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't had a problem with the coyote. I had a dog here get attacked by a bobcat,
Yeah.
and she was an old dog. She's just laying in my. She used to like to lay in sun after I put the dogs away, and we heard her yelping and screaming when I opened the door. I seen something jump over the fence real fast, and there my dog was laying there bleeding.
Wow. Well, I hope that ended on a high note. And
Yeah, she got better. She
good,
got better,
good.
but
What is your? We talked about Huns being kind of your bucket list bird, but what in the next 3 weeks? Don't give me the latitude and longitude, but where are you going to go with the prospect of having an epic day?
well, I've been trying to work my way. My buddy and I were going to hook up and go back on the Arizona Strip,
Yeah.
and I want to do that. And then if I do end up taking a dog to Vegas, I'll also hunt that Mojave National Preserve there in California.
Yes.
Um, and in December, I have a AKC hunt test that I'm going to be going to. So I'm actually thinking about taking a week off and hunting some of my old stomping grounds back there. Maybe get a mountain quail and some chucker and just explore the hills that I haven't been in a long time.
If I recall, your stomping grounds were kind of north central California. Am I missing that, or what? I forgot.
Well, Lake Isabella area,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Ridgecrest,
Hmm.
Lone Pine area.
I have fond memories of that whole area. We did our 50-mile hike out of Onion Valley over there to Lone Pine, I think.
Yeah, there's great hunting out there. Great hunting. I miss it all. I miss those valley quail.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't we all? They come
Well,
to
you got a
visit
lot
our.
north.
Yeah, no, I got them. We got 2 home coveys here in the backyard that visit our water feature at least twice a day. I'm not allowed to shoot at those.
Yeah, but your dog can point them.
Oh, he does. Way too often for me because now I get jealous. My finger itches a little bit after that. Well, we could go on and on. The next time we do this, I'm hoping we'll be closer together. Like I said, I'll be keeping everybody posted on how that whole NAVDA annual meeting goes. But Rashawn Gordon, what are we calling your outfit these days? Gordon's Gun Dogs and Guide
And guide
Service.
service.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance too, I'd like you to come by and check out this club that I'm in with now.
Yeah. Tell me, where is it and what are you doing?
It is in El Centro, California.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was formerly known as Woodlands Hunt Club. So for this year, we're keeping the I had to do a name change on it, but it's going to be Woodlands Hunting Club. And we have pheasants and chucker, and we do dove and Eurasian hunts. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
It is. You're down there. You're down there among the melon fields and probably some alfalfa. I'm afraid to guess what other. Yeah.
Bermuda grass. It's just a wonderful place, and you can check out the old website, and you can see the actual club. And we have some of the most beautiful pheasants, long tails. I mean, hard flying. You would think they're wild birds.
Love it. And if they want more, the best place to find you is on Facebook. Is that what we were doing last time? Yeah. So just go to Facebook and search Rashawn Gordon. Gordon, you can spell. I have to spell out Rashawn for me. Rashawn. Rashawn Gordon. Hopefully, we'll get together and chase a few Gamble's quail later this season. In the meanwhile, thanks so much for being a part of the Upland Nation podcast.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Great talking to you.
Same here. Bye-bye.
See you later.
And this part of the podcast is brought to you by Dr. Tim's Natural Performance Dog Food. Watch for the new video. Put together a video on the Fearsome 4. Had some fun with it. All about the things that you really do not want in your dog's food. There's 4 real culprits out there. One of them, artificial colors. There's nothing good about an artificial color in a dog's food. And if you see one on your dog food label, or if you dig deeper on the website and find artificial colors somewhere on the dog food manufacturer's website, run away as fast as possible. That's Rashawn sending me text photos already. I can't wait. In fact, here, I'm just gonna do this. I don't really do this very often, but okay. So here it is. This dog. This is that Shorthair. That hole is probably 3 foot deep by the end of it, and half of the dog is in it. I see the back end of that Shorthair as she is going after that Gamble's Quail. I love it. Good dog, good trainer. Anyway, Dr. Tim Hunt knows his stuff. He will tell you exactly what's in his dog foods and where all those ingredients come from, and I'll tell you there's nothing artificial. That's why we call it Dr. Tim's Natural Performance Dog Food. Learn more at drtims.com. If you want to try it, you'll get 30% off your first order. Just mention the code Upland Nation at checkout. They'll deliver it right to your front porch, just like all those other guys. So there's no reason not to give it a try. I like the Momentum formula. That's a little bit higher protein and fat, but Flick is a rock star on that, and that's what I'm after. So we got lots more to talk about. Hang on, the Upland Nation is still in high gear, and we're going to talk next about what you all learned. Last week. If you don't get the Upland Nation Insights newsletter, I invite you to do that. Just sign up at findbirdhuntingspots.com and we'll add you to the list. Every week I'm offering up a little bit of everything, something educational. There's another way to watch the podcast. Watch it because it's on YouTube, or watch the most recent educational video on everything from dog training to dog feeding and shooting. Yeah, not my advice, but advice I get from other people. Anyway, so I always have a survey in there as well. And so in the last newsletter, I asked everybody what they learned about last week. I said, did you learn anything at all last week? And then I gave 6 choices. So most of us learned something about dog performance. That would be 26% of us. Right up there in the same neighborhood, bird behavior. And we've been talking about that a lot today, and I've got way more to do that. I'm going to put some notes together. Maybe we'll just talk about all those sort of things. Next on the list, your hunting buddy. 13.8% of you said you learned something about them. I don't even want to know what that is. Shooting. You learned something about shooting. 20% of you did. Another 9% said they learned something about habitat, and then about 5% of you said you learned something about conservation. The old teacher in me says, I don't care what you learn, as long as you learn something. Keep those synapses firing, have a good time out there, and enjoy the heck out of every dimension of a bird hunt, from the camaraderie to the dog performance. And don't forget the beautiful places. That's on my short list as well. Well, you've earned it. Here's your chance. I'm giving away a Peet boot dryer at the end of the month to somebody who answers one of these questions correctly. So I'll pick from all the correct answers. Every month I'll be giving away something. This time it's one of my favorite products. So if you have the correct answer, or you think you have the correct answer, go to one of my Facebook pages and private message me. Easy enough to do. I figured out how to do that a year or two ago. And you'll be eligible for the Peet boot dryer drawing. This one's so easy. Really, folks. All you got to do is name one of the sponsors of the Upland Nation podcast. Name one of our sponsors. at any of the Facebook pages I check in, the Upland Nation, Wing Shooting USA, you name it. Love to have you win that Peet boot dryer in time for, well, the cooler part of the season, but it comes in handy every night, no matter what time of year, what season it is. Good luck. That'll about do it around here at the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host. Glad you could join me. Thank you, Rashawn Gordon, for your insights. Looking forward to finally meeting you at some point this season. Thank you, all our sponsors, for making this possible. Let me say that again, just to remind you about the drawing. Thanks all our sponsors. If you like what you hear, please tell one friend. That's how we grow, and we're growing exponentially. I appreciate your help. Leave a review, especially if you're subscribed via Apple Podcasts. That's the one that counts, the big kahuna of ratings. You want to talk any day, it's at Facebook or at findbirdhuntingspots.com, where we have something brand new to offer every week in the way of access, strategy, dog training, you name it. I'll leave you with this quote from author Sue Murphy. Hey, did you ever walk into a room and forget why you walked in? I think that's how dogs spend their entire lives. I think I forgot that until just now. Thanks, Sue. Be safe. See you in the field.